the battle for truth may be as tough a fight right now as is the battle against coronavirus. How do you and President Biden plan to combat disinformation that in many ways led to that assault we witnessed 2 weeks ago today on the Capitol?
Well, I think, Peter, there are a number of ways to combat misinformation. One of them is accurate information and truth and data and sharing information even when it is hard to hear and even when it is not meeting the expectations of people at home who are desperate for this crisis to be over.
Biden's press secretary had something to say about the issue of defunding the border wall today. Watch.
The last 4 years, the immigration policy has been based around funding for a wall. That has not worked, even to keep the country safer, even to keep bad actors out. And so his approach is multi-pronged.
Commissioner, did the wall fail to keep bad actors out? She must be reading something other than what I'm consulting.
But let me make my response, Laura, very clear. The press secretary of the President of the United States just lied to the American people.
When the president asked me to serve in this role, we talked about the importance of bringing truth and transparency back to the briefing room. And rebuilding trust with the American people will be central to our focus in the press office and in the White House.
The press secretary of the President of the United States just lied to the American people. That's a blatant lie.
If the president were standing here with me today, he would say he works for the American people. I work for him, so I also work for the American people. But his objective and his commitment is to bring transparency and truth.
Oh, rim shot!
Just lied to the American people. That's a blatant lie. The wall and the wall system works. Every single mile that goes in, this country is more secure because of it.
The power of this podium and the power of truth.
Just a few hours after his inauguration, this president, with a stroke of a pen, Laura, made our borders less secure, our country less safe, and endangered every man and woman in the United States Border Patrol on our front lines defending our country. That's a fact. What she said is an outright lie.
Biden signed yesterday. The acting Homeland Security Secretary issued a memorandum to review and reset immigration enforcement priorities. For 100 days, beginning tomorrow, the Department of Homeland Security will pause removals for certain individuals.
The Department of Homeland Security will pause removals for certain individuals.
If you read the text of this order, it is breathtaking and mind-boggling in its scope. It halts all deportations for 100 days, including the most hardened criminals living in the United States.
For certain individuals.
That means child molesters, sex offenders, drug dealers, gang members, MS-13, all shielded from removal.
For certain individuals.
This is the priority of our new president? With a raging pandemic, his top priority is to make it so that brave ICE officers can't remove hardened criminals from our country? It is flatly illegal. It is completely unconstitutional. And as an American citizen, I, for one, am gratified that the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is stepping up and threatening to sue the Biden administration if they don't immediately revoke this patently lawless directive.
It is to do smart security that will help address and use technology to address key border crossings, address ports of entry more effectively and efficiently, and putting that oversight in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security.
Things we're hearing from the Biden administration is they're going to put a 100-day pause on deporting certain non-citizens.
For certain individuals.
Non-citizens, and that will take effect no later than tomorrow on Friday. What impact will that have and where we are in the immigration issue?
What he did is, he didn't abolish ICE, but he's preventing them from doing their job. So he might as well abolish them. ICE is no longer going to be able to arrest MS-13 gang members. They're no longer going to arrest people here illegally that have been convicted of child molestation.
For certain individuals.
That moratorium and 100-day deportations, there's no carve-out for the most dangerous criminals in the country. So these people will not be deported, which means ICE can't arrest them because it's illegal to detain an illegal alien in detention if there's no likelihood of removal, because it's an administrative detention. Look, I've been doing this for 34 years, Shannon. This is the worst public safety policy memorandum I've ever seen in my career. This is the most anti-enforcement policy I've ever read. This is so far left, I had to read it 6 times to say, is this really true? And did somebody actually sign this and send it out? It's incredible what this memorandum has done.
That we have a fair and effective enforcement system rooted in responsibly managing the border and protecting our national security and public safety.
What this memo says is that Americans are second-class citizens in their own country. What this memo says is that while you're locked in your home, while you're subject to one mandate after another, while you can't go to a restaurant or bar, whatever you may think about the validity of those measures, if you're an illegal alien, you can do whatever you want, including committing crimes against U.S. citizens. I want to underscore, Laura, the real-world impact of this, speaking as somebody who worked with our brave ICE officers for the last 4 years, who saw what they did up close and personal. They will not be able to arrest the criminals in your neighborhood. When your police departments call and say, pick this criminal up, because of this memo, they can't arrest them, they can't deport them, they can't remove them from our country. How many innocent Americans, Laura, will get hurt because of this? How many innocent children will get hurt because of this? This isn't about right or left or Democrat or Republican. It's about fundamental morality and decency and, yes, democracy. Joe Biden gave a speech yesterday about democracy, and then hours later, he suspends hundreds of pages of immigration law with the stroke of a pen. That's not who we are as a country, Laura. That's just wrong.
And Mark, the ACLU believes this memo, the executive order, didn't go far enough. They want to reach back and to get people who've already been deported and bring them back to the country. I don't believe, any of the MS-13 are probably living in his neighborhood. But Mark, now we're going to reach back into Guatemala and Salvador and Honduras and beyond and pull back deported individuals. Close it out.
Laura, like you've already said, it's absurd. This is a travesty. And look, in my opinion, Laura, this president is actually inciting the next wave, the next illegal immigration crisis. It's already started. Let's take the migrants' own words. Quote, Biden has given us 100 days to make it to the United States. That's all you need to hear.
Yeah, and so Joe Biden, through this memo, through these priorities, is in effect inciting violence against the United States.
Joe Biden invited him. When you make promises of moratorium on deportation, shutting down ICE operations, giving free health care, he invited him to come. With those type of promises, who wouldn't want to come? Border Patrol don't have the ability right now to rapid test. So if we can't detain them, they're going to be released in the middle of a pandemic. We are going to import more COVID cases because of the incompetence of this administration.